Virtual machines are amazing bits of technology because it allows us to, utilize a really big system and segregate into a bunch of different smaller virtual machines and using the same bunch of hardware. But they can be a lengthy thing to set up because really, a virtual machine is a full operating system installed on a full system. It's just virtualized. So it's really cool that there are a standardized version of templates out there. So we can have the work of somebody else that has already set up a virtual machine, actually a virtual machine here, that we can use for a specific purpose, and we can just quickly import that into our own virtualization infrastructure. It's really awesome, and there are standards. OVF stands for the Open Virtualization Format, which is a standard way to ship or send or share virtual machines, even if you're using a different underlying virtualization system usually. So I want to actually talk briefly about how that works. So let's say we have a system that is all set up, and in our case it's going to be a Linux system. Now, in order to set up that Linux system, we've had to do a few things. We've had to describe the types of hardware that are required, like minimum RAM and stuff like that. We've actually had to install it on a hard drive. Possibly we need to include an ISO image if it's boots from an ISO image, and we need to have all of these things set up in order for our virtual machine to be complete. We need to have some network stuff described and things like that, and then our virtual machine is complete. What if we could take all of these specifications, including the hard drive image itself, and then we could package that into an OVF formatted group of files, and then somebody else could take that and plug it into their own virtualization system, utilizing all that work that you did setting up the hard drive and specifying all the requirements and things like that. A good example is something like, what if you had a WordPress install that requires a bunch of things, right? You need the Linux server, you need Apache or Nginx, you need MySQL, you need PHP, you need the software installed. What if you did all that work and then packaged it up and shared it in a way that was available for everybody else? So that's really the whole idea behind templating, and it's really a powerful idea. One thing I want to mention, and this confused me for a while, I wasn't sure the difference between OVF and OVA because they're referenced together all the time. In fact, sometimes used interchangeably, but that's not exactly right. So OVF is the Open Virtualization Format, and this includes a bunch of files like hard drive images, RAM requirements, network requirements, etc. So it's a bunch of different files. OVA is simply this group of files tarred and then renamed OVA. So it's just a single file that is a tarred up group of these files defined in the OVF standard. So if you're confused between OVA and OVF, know that they're the same thing. It's just an OVA is an archived version, so it's a single downloadable file. So usually you're going to download OVA files, and your hypervisor will allow you to import that, where it's just going to untar it and expand it into the things like the hard drive images. So what I want to show you is where you would go to find something like that. There's a couple different sites out there. There's like Bitnami is really, really popular. I actually really like this turnkeylinux.org because I'm a big Linux fan. But let's go in here and you can scroll down, and this doesn't just provide OVA archive files. It does provide other things, but I want to show you an example. Like I mentioned WordPress. So let's go into WordPress here, and we can see this is the entire publishing platform, right? It includes a web server, it includes PHP, MySQL, all the things required. And there's a couple things you can do. They have just a click and run thing where you can actually launch it directly into Amazon EC2 if you want to do that and you have an account there and you want to, spin up your own server for WordPress, or it comes in multiple different builds. This 426 megabytes, it's an OVA file. It's a streamable OVA image compatible with VMware and VirtualBox. So it tells you the two platforms that it's going to work on, right? Oh, it's going to work on VMware and it's going to work on VirtualBox. And then this over here, this is an installable image. You can install the pre-installed stuff directly onto hardware if you want, or directly onto a VM. And then this is just like a hard drive image. This has the OVF, all the stuff that is required to install it. We have a Docker image if you want to do it in a container situation. So it really is a great site for providing WordPress prepackaged, pre-installed with, everything ready to go out of the box. And usually if you scroll down, it'll even give you the details, right? Like if you install it, well, how are we going to know how to get in? And so it'll tell you things like it has Adminer installed. And if you click on the WordPress docs, it's going to show you how to set it up. Here's the username. Here's the username for WordPress. Here's the username for MySQL. So it tells you all of the details that they installed with so that once it's on your system, you're going to be able to administer it just fine. Now, I wouldn't recommend just downloading something that you Google searched, right? Get it from a reliable site like Turnkey Linux or Bitnami or somewhere that is a little bit more curated, because I mean, if you could set up a honeypot, right? And then just tell somebody, oh, this is going to be a great system for you to install in your network. And you don't want to just install things willy-nilly. But nonetheless, there are some awesome time-saving things you can do by going to something like Turnkey Linux and getting a pre-done OVA file. Now, if you'd rather install every single virtual machine yourself so that you know all the details, you know how it was installed, what options were used, that's perfectly fine. The whole idea between the OVF or OVA, whichever way you want to refer to it, is just a time-saving thing so that you can spend your time managing the system instead of spending all that time installing it. Templates can be a really powerful tool, so I urge you to at least consider looking at what's available out there. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.